Good afternoon. My name is Karma, and I'm going to be doing my paper and my presentation on the movie Knives Out. As the world has continued to evolve, the importance of things like integrity, honesty, and dignity have continued to slowly decrease in value. A handshake, a word, of an individual now means next to nothing, as opposed to once when it meant everything. And the breaking of an oath was considered a serious mark against one's character, and depending on the severity of the offense, an everlasting black mark of shame against a person. Far too many have fallen prey to seeking advancement or status, focusing less on being a human being of substance while placing more attention on achieving excess or frivolity. It is the selling of one's soul and morals in order to gain that power that takes precedent, and the constant messaging that what one has or how much one has that is infinitely more important than who they are and the merit of their character. While the truth is subjective, as everyone's individual reality is uniquely their own, and perceptions may vary, maintaining a code of honor is the way one ought to make their way through the world. In the movie Knives Out, the truth is the first fatality after the family patriarch, Harlan, is found dead. The deceit and lack of decency among those closest to him comes to light as the game of whodunit commences, and their true selves appear, far uglier and crueler than the dynastic, pristine image they present and would like others to believe. Written as a mystery comedy with an amazing ensemble cast, the tale spins around Harlan Thrombey and his family. All are gathered to celebrate Harlan's 85th birthday. But the story takes a much darker and much more somber tone when he is found dead the morning after his 85th birthday party, with his throat slit and knife still in hand. The police are ready to accept it as a suicide until the famous super sleuth, Benoit Blanc, shows up. Blanc, the recipient of an anonymous letter alerting him to the situation, knows that there is more to the story than meets the eye. As the questions begin, we see that, contrary to the impression the family tries to give, each of them had a very strained relationship with Harlan, and each is revealed to have their own motives and reasons for wanting him dead. The family does their best to save face and manipulate the investigators into thinking nothing is amiss within the family and shift blame elsewhere. Harlan is the charismatic leader of the family. He's authoritative and controlling, using his wealth to keep his family in line. He is the fabulously successful writer of mystery books, using his intelligence and cunning to create a legacy of fabulous stories. His rags to riches story has inspired his children and given him a very loyal following. He is not afraid to make tough choices, especially when it pertains to his family. But it's tempered with a genuine love and concern for each of them. This is best displayed by his generosity, although he begins to have some serious doubts about how his generosity has affected his children and their own ambitions. each member of his family seems to evoke a different aspect of Harlan's personality. All of them share in the benefits of his success, and each has a personal benefit associated with his demise. First, there's his daughter Linda. She has, on the surface, a loving husband, a handsome and successful son, and she runs her own prominent real estate business. She displays a very authoritative personality type. She's forceful, assertive, and dominating, and will steamroll anyone who opposes her. But this juxtaposes her loving nature towards her family. In the beginning, she even presents an appearance of acceptance and familial kinship with her father's foreign-born caregiver, Marta. She is fiercely protective of her brother and defends him passionately when when Blanc questions her about Walt's relationship with Harlan. She gives off the impression that she built her business from the ground up. But we later learn that she had $1 million loan from her dad to help her get started. He has also continued to subsidize Linda and her husband Richard's lifestyle, providing their own motive for wanting Harlan out of the picture. Linda's husband Richard is portrayed as an abrasive, contentious, and manipulative man. It's insinuated that he's a Trump supporter and espouses anti-immigrant rhetoric at large, even in front of Marta, who is foreign-born. His character's abhorrent behavior continues when he tries to pull Marta into an anti-immigrant discussion, asking for her opinion to get the immigrant's point of view. He is rude to the housekeeper and dismissive of anyone's opinion that doesn't match his own. It's later revealed in the movie that he signed an ironclad prenuptial agreement, and his wife has absolute, total control of everything within their marriage. We see in flashbacks that Harlan, the father-in-law, had found out that Richard was having an affair and had threatened to tell Richard's wife, Linda, providing his own separate motive for wanting Harlan out of the way. Due to his nature, he has no qualms about sharing family intrigues with the investigators, not caring if it humiliates his wife's family. His reasons for wanting Harlan dead would be to protect his own lies and solidify his position in the family, as well as, of course, the money. Linda and Richard's son, Ransom, is the black sheep of the family and an all-around petulant man-child. While charming and very handsome, played by Chris Evans, he is also spoiled, arrogant, entitled, and cruel. He seems to enjoy stirring the pot, getting everybody whipped into a frenzy. Ransom shared a very dichotomous relationship with Harlan. His grandfather stated previously that he had seen a lot of himself in Ransom, but they also share a coldness and a disdain for one another, as if they recognize one another's true character. When we see him early on seeming to help Marta, he's almost believable. He's portrayed as a very transactional type personality, and it becomes obvious early on that he's used to manipulating people to get his way. Once the whole tale is told later in the film, we see the depths and the breadths to which he will go to continue his lifestyle. One would almost be called upon to label him a sociopath. Walt is Harlan's youngest son. Walt runs his father's insanely successful publishing business. I apologize. He takes credit for the success of the business while practicing a very laissez-faire management style that sees his employees doing all of the work while he takes the credit. He is constantly antagonizing Harlan to sell the rights of his popular books to make movies and for merchandising. Harlan has been opposed to this plan for years and takes a stand the night of his birthday party, the night before he dies, and tells Walt that he will no longer be running the family business. This establishes one of Walt's motives for wanting his father dead. He's portrayed as a whiny, weak-willed, and spoiled man. He walks with a cane, presumably from a bike accident when he was younger. We later find out that he had actually defaulted on a loan to a loan shark and was injured as a result. He's a greedy and avaricious person who will stoop to threatening and intimidating the very young Marta when he feels that his wealth and his privilege are under threat. He's married to Donna, a minor character in the movie, who shares her husband's family disdain for anyone not one of us. Starting sentences with, "I'm not a racist, but..." She seems pretty oblivious to the lives of everyone around her, much like her husband. Neither of them seems to want to address the issues surrounding their son Jacob, who is portrayed as a very sneaky, manipulative child, and a budding Nazi who likes to swat immigrants. Joni is Harlan's daughter-in-law, the widow of his son Neil. She's a lifestyle guru in the vein of Gwyneth Paltrow and runs Flam, a failing skincare line that, in her words, is a balance of opposites: self-sufficiency with acknowledgement of human need. This is in spite of the fact that she receives a yearly allowance from Harlan and also accepts his paying her daughter's tuition fees. We see that she is an opportunistic type personality when we see in flashbacks that Harlan discovered she's been double dipping. She was accepting misdirected tuition payments as well as having tuition payments also made directly to her daughter's school. Harlan quotes the amount as $100,000 a year for the last 4 years. And he tells her he's cutting her off. We find out later that her business is failing because her products cause people to break out in horrible rashes, thus established her motive for wanting Harlan out of the picture. Meg is Joni's daughter and Harlan's granddaughter. She's a so-called social justice warrior and a perpetual student. She claims a familial relationship with the foreign-born Marta, telling police she's family. But we see that she's more of a performative progressive once Meg's status and privilege are threatened. We see that while she's torn about it, she is not above using shame and guilt to try to hold on to her position of power. Marta, the caregiver, confidant, and true friend to Harlan, is positioned as the heart of the story, as the moral compass. She's a servant-type personality. She's being portrayed as honest, dedicated, hardworking, and not at all materialistic. We are told that she's physically unable to tell a lie without vomiting, and then they show us that. She also has a very strong sense of who she is as a person and also of right and wrong, even at her own expense and at the expense of her mother and her sister. She and Harlan have a genuine friendship, not in a small part based on her ability to beat him at a game called Go. At one point, he asks in frustration, "Why can I not beat you at this game?" To which she replies, "Because I'm not trying to beat you. I'm merely trying to create a beautiful pattern." This is a true portrayal of her essence. She is not out to get anything. She is just trying to build a life, a beautiful pattern. The whole tragic story is set into motion by Marta's apparent medication error. She believes that she has given Harlan an overdose of a powerful narcotic. She also suddenly cannot find the antidote to that overdose. In a panic, Harlan gives her a plan, instructing her to follow it to the letter. This is where we see who she truly is. There are critical junctures where Marta is faced with life and death decisions. It's crucial at this point to mention that Marta's mother and sister are in the country undocumented. Once things come to light, this becomes a leverage point against Marta. At points in the film, Marta is forced to make choices that could cost her not only her own freedom, but the freedom of her mother and her sister as well. Even then, she follows her heart and what she feels to be the right thing. Giving credence to the old saying that virtue is its own reward, it turns out that not everything is what it appears to be. The medication era was part of a really devious plot to kill Harlan and implicate Marta. Into this mix is thrown Benoit Blanc with his foghorn leghorn accent and impeccable dress. He's a wild card. He sees what others don't and looks where others don't think to. He asks questions and makes connections in the answers that he gets. His quote from Rainbow's Gravity is an amazing example of how his mind works. He slowly gathers the clues, picking at threads until, in a brilliant flash, he finds the donut hole, the piece that brings the whole picture into focus. The story is told through flashbacks, and it's really ironic that looking backward is what triggered the story in the present. Harlan belatedly saw that while he wanted to help his children and thought that that was what he was doing, he had crippled them. His continued financial support had made them completely unable to function independently. I believe that in Marta he had begun to see that none of his children had the capacity to struggle and work hard for what they wanted. And I think that he saw what would eventually happen when he eventually did pass away, and at 85, he knew that that was sooner rather than later. I think he did what he could to remedy the situation in the only way he knew, by cutting them loose to find their own way. He also wanted to reward the one person in his life who had personified those traits and had befriended him with no ulterior motives. His love for Marta led him to try and protect her in what he thought was the only way. The moral of the story is perfectly summed up by Benoit when he tells Marta that she has played Harlan's game, but she played it her way, without machinations or pretense, and with an open and trusting heart. And that is why she won.